Good afternoon, our viewer, and welcome once again. Thank you for joining us for another episode here at Women at the Front Lines, a place where we bring you inspirational women leaders at various spaces here in Uganda and across the region. I'd like to welcome you this afternoon. My name is Monicah Amoding, and I would like you to share our stories here to any person we'd like to inspire, any woman would like to inspire. Follow us, like us, comment on our programs, and also on your social media handles. There are various spaces in which you can join the conversation on the topics, on the women leadership journeys that we share here at the Women at the Front Lines. I would like to welcome you once again. And this afternoon, I'm having a very, very special guest, delightful guest, a friend of mine, Honourable Winnie Kiiza. I'm so delighted receiving you, Honourable. You're welcome.
Thank you, Monica.
Of course, many of us have been asking about this particular lady because I think her story inspires many, and I'm so delighted to have her this afternoon. She had promised to come, and today she's here. Winnie is a public speaker. She's a human rights advocate. All of you know she's a politician. She's a mother. She's a mentor. She's a businesswoman, a farmer, I think, as well. Yes. So she's everything a successful woman is in our society. So she's here to share her story and to, inspire because, and also to showcase what she's been able to contribute in her illustrious journey of leadership in Uganda and across the world. So I'd like to welcome her on the set. Welcome. Beautiful as usual. I don't know how life has been for her since she left that parliament, but I know her potential has not been exhausted yet. But Winnie, next to you is a young woman who is inspired by your leadership journey. The program is usually for us to inspire other people as well with our impact in terms of leaders, but also especially the young people that we want to grow into great women as we are.
Thank you.
So Monicah Prudence Apiyo there is a young leader under training, but also she's serving right now. She's a Secretary of Female Affairs in Gulu city, Chite, that powerful city. And she requested to be on this program with you so that she can drink from your wealth of wisdom and learn from you, because she's one of those that are inspired by your leadership journey. That is why she's here. Yeah,
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so you're all welcome. And today we'd just like to have a chat, a conversation. Many people know you at the political arena, but there are some things that, we do in life and some people don't know about them, and they inspire somebody.
Wow.
Growing up a person like you, how has it been, your life as a young woman,
Winnie
going through school?
Winnie as a young woman was a stubborn one. Very naughty.
Yeah.
But growing up under strict parenthood, I grew up from a small village in Kasese called Kisinga. But actually the village is Karambi in Kisinga sub-county.
Wow.
In Nsenyi parish, where there is the first secondary school for girls in the district.
Of Kasese?
St. Teresa Girls School.
Wow.
So we are neighbors with girls' school, St. Teresa Girls. That's where I was born.
That's where you went to school
to
as well.
Modest Muke and Costes Muke. I went to Nsenyi Primary School, and my late father was a teacher there. But along the way, when I was in P2, my father died.
Wow, at that early age?
At that early age. So I grew up in the hands of a single woman.
Single mother.
And my mother was, I think, in my own understanding, the first woman in our community to say no to widow inheritance.
At that time?
Yes.
It was not easy.
In our tribe, the Bakonzo people, when a man passes on, the family sits and chooses a man to inherit.
Take on the wife.
To take on the wife, ensure the responsibilities of their brother can continue.
And the lineage.
The lineage, and the man sometimes can even stay in the home.
Yep.
So my mother said yes. I trust you, my in-laws. I love the family, but I married one man.
Wow.
So I will expect you to take care of your children. You'll take care of us, but I am not marrying any other
Again.
man.
Mm.
So this woman was looked at as a stubborn woman, and therefore somehow the family did not consider her and her children. So
She was challenging a
She
system
was challenging a
that was
system
well known
that
and
was
entrenched.
well known and
Yeah.
entrenched. So this rebellious woman was, let's leave her alone. She will come on her knees. So we had to work hard with our mother to support her, to let her live to her dream.
How many of you siblings?
We were 7.
Wow. And you are number?
So I am number 6.
Ah.
So these 7 children, she had to bring them up single-handedly. The family abandoned her because she was so rebellious. She didn't want to be inherited, and therefore let us see how she progresses. So because of that, we had to do so many things to
survive.
And she started the business that we all know at home of baking pancakes.
Wow.
And I was the marketing manager.
Agent. Yeah.
So
supervisor probably.
She would do these pancakes very early in the morning. She would wake up like at 4 a.m.
Wow.
Bakes her pancakes because I had to go with them to school, the primary. Carry my bucket of pancakes, go and sell them at school. Of course, along the way, then there was a friend to our late dad.
Wow.
Who took me on after my P4. And I went and started staying with him, so he became the father figurehead in my life. And this was an honourable man called Mbayahi Jethro, who took me on as the daughter now. But I can tell you my childhood was a good one.
It was a good one.
One with miserable situations, but at the same time, I enjoyed what I was doing. When you'd find me vending my pancakes, I do it happily because I knew that we had to survive.
That was all life had offered.
I knew that my father was dead, so I had to behave like an orphan.
Okay.
But I also knew that my character would determine what I would be in the future.
Okay.
Now, when I started living with my uncle now, I knew I had to behave to be accepted in the home.
In the home. And be a good girl.
Be a good girl, be a hardworking girl, because I knew that it's the way I handle myself that will contribute to my stay in that home. And I want to thank him because he really provided the father figure in my life, brought me up, and I think I left his home when I finished senior 4.
Wow.
From P5 up to senior 4.
What about your other siblings? Did they were able to?
My other siblings, yes, they were
with
struggling still with Mama during the holidays. I would just go home, also assist them. We started a brick making project. We made bricks, sold them to get fees.
Wow.
I still remember when we went for an excursion. I was in P4, and the school was organizing a tour for the children. And we were supposed to move from Musenyi Primary School to Mweya. We go to Hima, we go to Kilembe Mines, the Hima Cement, go to Kilembe Mines. And these are areas I had never been to.
Within the
up
district.
In the village. Yes, within the district. And they were looking for money that I knew my mother would not have. So I went to a neighbor with my other cousin, and we asked if he could allow us to dig in his farm.
Wow.
So that he gives us the money for the excursion. And yes, the man said, yes, I'll give you the garden. So we would dig in the morning before we go to school.
Yeah.
And then when we come back in the evening, we come and dig. It was in his banana plantation.
Wow.
So when we finished the digging, the portion that he showed us, he paid us the money. Immediately we rushed to school and went and paid.
And paid for the excursion.
So we went for the excursion. This was my first time now to also move that long distance. From my village home, going to Mwea to see the animals. Now from there we went, and now I moved around Hima Cement Factory to see how the cement is being made. Then we went to Kilembe Mines to see how it was a very nice experience for me. So sometimes I look at young people who want to just find life
done for them. It is surprising that many orphans actually who go through those hardships. Okay, orphans and other children who go through hard life make it bigger in life.
Yes, because sometimes you are driven by purpose. You have something that keeps you awake. And then growing up with my uncle was equally a politician. So he kept telling me, Winnie, I am not just looking after an ordinary girl. I'm seeing a leader in you.
What?
I'm seeing a leader in you.
Okay.
That takes me back to what we tell our children. You know, you are nurturing babies, but you are always telling them you are very stupid, you are nothing, you are useless. You don't inspire them in any way. You don't create that urge for them to come up. So when he kept telling me, I'm seeing a leader in you, and whenever he would see me kind of being a little bit stubborn, he'd say, hey, tone down. What you are doing is not taking you to where I want you to be. So I was under check by my
all
uncle.
The time.
And I kept looking at great women during that time. Then I started seeing the Winnie Mandelas into their struggles, and I would say, she's called Winnie. I'm called Winnie. So the struggles that Winnie Mandela went through enabled me to also
look at
myself in the shoes of the Winnie Mandelas. Then as I was becoming of age, I now saw the struggles of the Winnie Byanyumas. And I said, but I'm Winnie. I can also be like Winnie Byanyuma. So she became my role model.
Wow.
Because now Winnie Mandela was in South Africa.
The power of role models in our lives.
She was in South Africa, and she was a little bit far from me. I would just hear about Winnie Mandela on radio. But now, at least the Winnie Byanyumas, I would say she's a woman in Uganda. Now this is a woman, Winnie Byanyuma. When I say now, that Winnie Byanyuma, I am Winnie. She's Winnie. I can also be like her. I can make it. So I finished my P7 and then went to secondary school.
Wow.
And I went through Sadi Memorial Secondary School, still in Kasese. Finished my senior 4 in SAD. But in school, I think possibly what I have left behind growing up as a young girl, I stayed with my uncle, and I had to change from now Senyi Primary School to another school.
To another school nearby.
Where your uncle was? One where my uncle was staying was called Kajwenge. I went into that school for 1 year. But I think my uncle wanted the best for me. He realized Kajwenge was not necessarily the best school where he thought I would acquire the necessary skills that I wanted to take me where he wanted me to go. So he moved me to another school which was around 3 kilometers away from home.
Wow.
But remember, we were to walk. So I would trek this journey every morning. Go in the morning and come back in the afternoon. The following day you will go, then come back in the afternoon. So I would move from Kajwenge and then go to Kisinga Primary School. And in Kisinga, I think that is where now my leadership capabilities were developed, because I now became the head girl of the school when I was in P6.
Okay.
I became the head girl of the school. Then moved from there, went to Sadi Secondary School. When I reached in SAD, they started now the youth councils.
At that time?
At that time. So when they were beginning the youth councils, that was in 1986. I went in senior 1, 1988.
Wow.
Just as soon as M7 took over, this was 2 years after he had taken over, then this castle system started, because, you know, it was during the NRC period. They were developing the women councils and the youth councils. So I became a councillor in the youth council. One representing the women at the school council level.
Wow.
So I moved from the school council, went now to the school councils, and went at the district level as the women's leader at the council level. I finished my senior 4, then went to another secondary school outside Kasese district called St. Maria Goretti Girls School in Fort Portal.
Fort Portal.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
for the Reverend Sisters.
Wow.
So I now studied at St. Maria Goretti School for my senior 6. And there I also contested as head girl.
So the seed
And
of greatness in you
yes,
started
and
way back.
I think so. But I will want to thank my mother.
Yes.
Because our mother had a way she would identify each one of us' talents and would want to propel it. Because that leadership issue, she kept encouraging me to do certain things. She kept encouraging me to do, whenever I told her I want to do a particular role, then she would encourage me, please go for it, go and try. Whenever I would tell her, but don't you think I will fail? Then she would ask me, will they kill you? Have you ever seen a skin of a person who has failed? You go and try. Then she kept giving me the courage. Then my uncle also kept giving me the courage. So in Maria Goretti Girls, St. Maria Goretti Girls School, Virika, I became the head girl of the school.
Again?
Yes, I became the head girl of the school in senior 5. And I completed my senior 5, then went to National College of Business Studies, the current MOBS. By that time, it was called the NCBS, National College of Business Studies, for my diploma in business studies. And I finished.
Wow.
So when I came from that school, we were now getting into the decentralization system. Properly, because the law was passed in 1995. So in it was 1995. The Local Governments Act was 1997.
Yes.
1997. So they were actualizing it in 1998. So I said, why can't I go and participate in the politics at home?
Yes.
And I think the activist in me came up at that time. I was challenging a system
at that time.
Because the system then was that if there is any woman who wants to participate in politics, someone big must hold her hand.
The patronage.
It was the patronage that I was challenging. So I say there was some other lady who had been held, and they said, you know, the minister wants this lady to be the councillor for this sub-county. I said, how? The minister, did she say she wanted to become a councillor? They said no. And actually she was my friend and we were neighbors. So I went to her and asked her, Emma, were you interested in contesting? She said, actually, I don't even know what I'm going to do. But the minister just came and said, I must hold you.
Okay.
I said, no, but you have to have the initial
interest as well.
Of saying, you know, I want to represent my people. She said, no, you know, I am the candidate of the minister. So I said, okay, let me contest. Because now this one will continuously be the minister's candidate.
And that minister is Honourable Kiiza at that time.
Dr. Kiiza
at the time. Very powerful man.
Very powerful man. So he was even, wanted to entrench himself even in the women politics. And I think there was now the struggle between the woman leader whom we had at that time, the Honourable Lois Wambale, and then the Honourable Dr. Kiiza. Each one of them trying to show
who is more powerful.
I am powerful, and the other one saying I'm powerful.
Of course, in that battle, there is bound to be someone who will lose.
So the woman leader was equally holding on to someone. So I came in as the only person who had nobody who was holding on to her. And I said, okay, me, I will be the people's candidate. So, but I came into the race a little bit late and I lost.
That is a race now at council level?
At council level.
Okay.
And I lost it. So when I lost at castle level, I think after a little time, the laws could not allow the lady who went through. It was the one that Honourable Lois Wambale was holding on that went through. So when she went through, the laws were, the Local Governments Act provided that if you are a civil servant, you are not supposed to participate in the politics of that area.
Wow.
So she resigned. And then I came again, and that is when I won to go into the castle. I know you had asked me about my education.
Very important.
And then I had to blend in the issue of coming into the district council because it was as soon as I finished school. though I had worked a little bit with some organization,
That early part
company,
of life is
but
very
the
critical.
early part of life was that I participated in so many of the school leadership trainings and activities, and I was so interested in leadership. In my school, I was still a captain of the sports. And so I
up
was
to today.
Yes, that is how when I came to parliament and I realized the women who wanted to who wanted to be in sports had to associate themselves with the men who were playing football. I said, Madam Speaker, you are a woman. You can't be a woman and then you see your women attaching themselves to the men for them to show that they love sports. Can't we introduce at least netball? That is how netball was introduced. Actually, I remember the Honourable Mariam Nalubega coming to me and saying, Winnie, I know you love sports. Let us register and be part of the football. We shall be training with men. I said, I don't want to play football. I want us to begin a netball team.
Okay.
Then I shared with the Honourable Jalia Bintu. She was a commissioner at that time. She said, okay, you go and discuss it with the speaker. I went to the speaker and discussed with the speaker. I said, Madam Speaker, you can't be a woman presiding over parliament. And I know you have
a gender lens.
You have a gender lens.
Yeah.
Let us start a netball team. And she said, okay, mobilize. So I did the initial request of members to be members of the parliamentary netball team. Yes, that is how we started the netball team of parliament. And by the time I left parliament, the netball team was just bringing trophies.
It is so serious right now,
to the Parliament
very
of Uganda.
You see, this part of life is very important. Growing up, finding a partner, going through education. You know, there are lessons we pick along the way. Yeah, for any young person. I don't know if Monicah is enjoying. She looks at you from that picture. She doesn't know that you came from that village in Karambi and reached that point of leadership, almost the highest in life, leader of opposition, but your potential has not yet been exhausted. Yes, so you've started the discussion of politics. So it started from council.
I can see that, I don't want to say that it started from council. When I was a head girl at primary school in Kising, I think that was the grooming ground for me to even go, pick up the guts of saying, let me go to council. The highest competition I got that propelled me to not fearing an election was that heady girl contest in senior 5. When I went to St. Maria Goretti Girls, first of all, I was new in the school. I was a Mukonzo, and this was a school in Toro.
Well,
those who know the history of the Bakonzo and the Batoro should be understanding what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I came and convinced people that even coming from a Mukonzo background, I can
quite
still
disadvantaged.
Quite disadvantaged. There is a way the Batoro and the Bakonzo handled themselves.
Yes.
It is history for another day. That is part of our history. And I just wanted to prove to the world that not all Bakonzo are enemies to the Batoro, and not all Batoro are enemies to the Bakonzo people. So in a way of playing the politics of unity in diversity, I said, here I come.
I go for it. Our viewer, we are interviewing Honourable Winnie Kiiza, the former leader of opposition in the Parliament of Uganda, MP Kasese District thrice. It's not easy. We are dealing with a politician proper, 3, 1 and 1. And so her story is very interesting. Of course, she's sharing with us how it all started. But I'm noting a key point in terms of the leadership engagements at early age. They are very important for a young person.
Yeah.
Those school engagements and, they grow leaders.
Yes, and I really want to encourage parents to study the traits and character of their children and begin giving them support where they have passion. Learn the interests of your children and enable their good side to come up.
Wow.
Yes, they will have challenges. They might be having weaker points. Work towards narrowing the weaker points and highlighting the strong points. So in these schools where I went, I think my teachers
identified
my potential, and they would highlight it.
Yeah.
whenever there was a leadership, well, I was also available to volunteer. So whenever there was a voluntary activity or opportunity, I would show up and show.
So being available is also very important.
So being available is very, very important, my sister. You know, there are these leaders, you are into a leadership position, but you don't want to show up for small things. So for me, I was not looking at leading from a bigger opportunity, but I knew that bigger opportunities can come from
small spaces. Like where Monicah now is.
Yes, so Monicah, use the opportunity of the small space that you have
to grow yourself.
To grow yourself. You know, you can't be trusted with a bigger thing if you have squandered the opportunity that they gave you of managing the smaller space. So for me, every opportunity that came my way that would help me to serve, I was ready.
We tell women, occupy the spaces, whatever space is available.
So whether the space was small, whether the space was big, but as long as it propelled an opportunity for me, I would use it.
Absolutely.
So that is how I would say I started that leadership journey. But then now, the biggest part of it came when I contested as councillor. To me, even when I lost, I will say I didn't lose. First of all, I came in late. Secondly, at that time, I was a young girl, not married, and I was coming into a space they considered to be a space for married women.
Yes.
So I come and challenge this status. I'm with married women. Now, the married women were all over asking me, now you see this one is not married. She's now trying to challenge the societal norms.
How will she manage?
How is she going to manage our issues as women? I said, friends, me, I know that the work of a councillor
does not extend
to being a marriage counselor. You are a legislator at that level.
Yes.
You are going to talk about policy issues. But I also know that there are structures that talk about issues of married women.
And family.
And family. There are issues of family courts. There are those structures that will talk about your issues. Go to the Mothers Union, go to the Catholic Women Association, go to the Women Council, go to the elders in the community, go to the family setting and talk about the issues of women. These are not issues of a councillor. However, as a leader, if I find that I have a challenge,
I need to help.
I will go to the old women to seek for guidance. So I knew
what the responses
that I am not alpha and omega by being their leader.
Okay.
So I kept saying, you know, that is even the reason I will come back to listen to you. Because I know that I don't know everything. So what I don't know, I will use the mentorship.
The resources
I will use the resources within the community. If there is an issue of a woman who has an issue, I will go to the elder women in our community and I ask, how do we handle this? So really, I am not going to poster here and I say I am the one who is going to finish all your problems.
Wow.
But I can be your voice.
You are just a voice, a leader, organizing and facilitating
they trusted
the process.
me. And when they trusted me, I said, I must live to my word. I must provide the representation role for which these people trusted me.
So how long were you in council?
In council, I was
in council. You didn't come straight to parliament?
No, I didn't come to parliament straight because I went to council in 2008, finished the first term, then went for the second term.
You were not in a hurry to come to parliament?
I was not in a hurry to come to parliament. I had to first be trained at that level. So I was a councillor for 8 years. Wow. At that time, council was having a term of 4 years. You know, you would elect the presidents and the members of parliament after 2 years, after a year. Then you go to elect the councillors at that time.
Okay.
And during that time, it was individual merit. So when the law was changing to go to multi-party politics, I think they also said, now let's be handling these elections at a go.
Yes.
So that is how I spent my time as a councillor.
As a councillor. What are some of your proud moments in that council?
As a councillor, when I went to council, I was given the Secretariat of Finance and Administration.
Wow. Were you not the first woman in that time?
I was still very fresh from college. But what gave me the joyful moment at that time was when I was reading this very first budget.
Wow.
Everybody was in the council hall. They had invited the many stakeholders to come and listen in as the budget was being read.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was my first time as a finance minister.
Wow.
I was getting introduced to the castle
Procedure.
procedure and
Madam
proceedings.
Speaker.
So when we came in and they were announcing, now Honourable Councillors, the Secretary of Finance is arriving, and I was having this briefcase of the budget. Oh, I felt the power now with
The power of the budget.
the power of the
money.
budget. I felt like I was carrying all these monies of the district in me.
Wow.
And then I went and sat, read the budget, and I think it was well presented.
Wow.
That when I finished reading this budget,
Mhm.
people stood up and clapped.
Well,
Well, I was still this tiny
little girl.
little girl. But when people stood up to begin clapping for me, I felt joy in my heart.
Wow.
And I felt, yes, I think I'm ready to take
In the right place.
I'm ready to take on the challenge. I didn't feel the pride, but I felt that, yes, my effort has been recognized.
And usually the finance ministers are men.
Yes, usually it is
Hardly
men.
will
Now
you find
this
a woman.
small woman, very hardened, and
Wow.
people kept asking me, how did you manage that budget?
Mhm,
How did, but you know, I prepared for it. And we had a team that was really very, very good. The district planner, Mateo Rogers, I think he now works with the National Planning Authority. Yeah,
okay.
he was the district planner at that time. And then we had the cow and the chief accounting officer.
Cow.
The chief accounting officer, CFO.
Accounting, CFO. Yes.
So we had worked along well with these officers to really come up with a very nice document of the budget.
Wow.
Up to now, I still keep a copy of that budget that I read,
historic in
including the bag
the
that
bag
I
you
used.
had.
I still have it.
Wow,
that,
they must be occupying
that,
a certain
that
corner.
Briefcase. They are in a
your
certain
house.
corner in my wardrobe.
Okay.
Certain corner, because that is a memorial thing that possibly I will hand over to one of my children who will decide to go into politics.
Wow.
I don't know, but I just pray that
there will be one who will show
there
interest.
will be one who will show interest, and I will say, my dear, this is my instruments of power.
Okay. So, yes. So we are talking of proud moments.
One of my great moments in Castle. But the other great moment was when I came up with an innovation of enhancing the graduated tax collection.
Yeah? At that time?
Yes, because we were collecting taxes from the head tax.
The head tax
that they were collecting from the men.
The men that made men run away from home.
And actually, that was one of the issues I used when I was when I was campaigning for the reform agenda at that time. So I said, how do we enhance the collection of graduated tax? So how do we enhance the locally generated revenue? I looked at the system we are using. Some of the cashiers at sub-county were my friends, others were my relatives. Well, as if I was doing my own research, but they didn't know. I was trying to find out from them how they cheat the collection of taxes. So I realized that at that level, corruption had started.
Had already started.
We would tender out the collection of graduated tax, someone to do the tickets.
Yes,
someone would do for us the graduated taxes, tax tickets.
Yes.
So whenever this person would produce now the materials to the district, the cashiers at the sub-county level would also go and print out their own books. And you know, this was just a ticket. So if 3 men come, the cashier would give receipts of the district to 2 and collects money from 1. Or at times gives the tickets of the district to 1 and they collect money from the 2. Because if they are auditing them, they would audit them from the number of tickets they have sold.
Wow.
But now if he has his own kabook, that kabook, he goes with it in his own pocket. So I said, how do we beat this system? Because I also saw we were wasting a lot of money in following up on those who have not paid.
Okay.
So I said, how do we reduce wastage of resources? Sometimes you would go follow men, you arrest one man, You get only 5,000 from
Out
the
of
man
him
when you have spent close to 50,000
for the arrest.
for the arrest and the officers facilitating them, the vehicle that they go with to the village, and then, of course, the animosity that you cause.
Yeah.
I said we can look for a smarter way of dealing, doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Can we compile a register of all the taxpayers in the district so that we know in Karambi village, for example, there is this number of taxpayers. And because I knew that part of the tax, of the money collected from the graduated tax, 25% was supposed to remain at the village level.
Okay.
At the village level. So I called the parish chiefs and the chairperson's LOC1 at that level to say, guys, look here, we are all beneficiaries in this. If your village collects more money, you get much money in terms of graduated tax. Can we now look at a way of writing, help us to document your village men who are supposed to get graduated tax? So we made a graduated tax register. The register was indicating that Monicah Amoding
lives in such and such a
lives
place.
in such and such a village.
Is this old?
And is this old? And is the tax assessment that was made on against Monicah is this amount.
Is this amount. Wow.
So this personalized graduated tax ticket would come to you. Specifically in your names, in the village where you come from, the sub-county where you are. So these tickets, we knew that there is nobody who is going to duplicate them. They had serial numbers, and the serial number would be against your name.
Wow.
So when you come to pay, they were like these Ndangamuntus that we have. When you come to pay, then they would know, I would know that in this village, this number of people have not paid. If I go there, I know that we registered these people in this village, so and so has not paid, so and so has not paid, because their tickets would be at the sub-county.
Wow.
So somehow we increased the collection of money
at the district.
And we are able to do roads, we are able to build schools from the money that we collected.
Wow.
And I think the issue of now wasting money to go and look for defaulters somehow reduced, because we would now use the local leaders. And I felt great that I had contributed to correcting a system that had been heavily penetrated and was losing. We were losing man as a district in such a system. So in a way, I was trying to see whether I can participate in fighting, first of all, corruption and enhancing the revenue collection at the district. That was one other.
You see, the output of a leader is what is very, very critical. We don't occupy these spaces just for the sake of it, but there is usually a cause, and you must be able to bring about some change in whichever space that you are in. I don't know, Monicah, this far, if you have a question, please, you have to show you, and you can ask. Feel free to make a comment and ask a question to your, role model. You're seated right next to her there. But Winnie, thank you so much for that story that you're sharing. Impact as a leader. As we are always talking to women, we are challenging them. What is your impact? What is your contribution? What change are you causing? What transformation are you causing? It's not a matter of occupying space for the sake. We shall get back to that question later. But I want to hear from my young leader here, if she has a comment this far, before we dive into the mainstream politics of Parliament of Uganda.
I just have a question for Honourable. Like, mostly women go through a lot of challenges, but I believe there is a purpose that made her to overcome all these challenges. Like, Honourable, what purpose drove you into these politics, and how did you manage to overcome the challenges? Because
that come along.
Well, I think my purpose was I just wanted to serve my people. And I knew I would have any other way of serving them. Because like I've told you my childhood story. I grew up as an orphan girl, being supported by many people. And I knew there was no way I would pay back to my community than getting an opportunity to serve them. So for me, I was looking at joining politics for purposes of service delivery.
Absolutely.
Serving my people, paying them back for what they have been to me, and speaking out what I feel was not being spoken out by many other leaders. So that kept me going, and it kept me under check. So every other moment I would wake up and say, what is it that I'm going to talk about today that will change a particular situation?
Oh, wow.
What is it that I should do that makes the life of a poor person like me,
in my village,
a poor person in my village, as someone going through the same situations that I've been going through, better? That is what kept motivating me. If I have gone through this situation, I think life should be better for others who are coming after me.
Wow.
So that kept me moving, and it kept me under check. This action you are about to do, does it change the life of your neighbor?
Okay.
Or it takes away
somebody's rights,
someone's
and freedoms and benefits.
So that is how I even found myself fighting for other people's rights.
All the time. Social justice.
So I kept talking about issues of social justice because I felt society was not about to be fair to humanity.
Other people. Okay.
Society was not about to be fair to other people, and I kept asking, why should you be unfair? And actually, going back to that, when I became Secretary for Finance, I realized that, one, many of our civil servants were not being paid on time. Reason being, there were two system errors that had occurred at the district. Before we came in at the district, the civil servants then were using the money that was coming from central government to pay the salaries. Like the money comes in January. Let me just make an assumption of 200 million comes in January. The CAO and the CFO would get that money, hold it, and put it on a fixed account deposit somewhere.
Hey.
So in February, the money that comes in February is the one that was paying the month of January. So the money that would come in March would pay Feb. The one that is coming in April is paying March. So they were always getting their money in arrears. And in December, they would get two checks. So always December, they would get two checks. The one of December
and the one of November.
And the one of November.
Corruption proper.
Yes, and for them, they have accumulated their money from the saving they have made. So they pay now in December. So when these ones are still celebrating getting the 2 months, then they hold January.
They hold January first.
So it became a vicious cycle. Until when I said, where does this come from? When government is sending money
in time
at the end of every month. And when I investigated the issue, I found there was this cartel that had been created, and they were holding the money, put it on a fixed deposit account until after 11 months. Then they get it when they have gotten their money. I also realized that we had, because I was in charge of finance and administration, so I was looking at the payroll. And seeing the payroll, I saw that we had more staff than I actually saw in the field. So when I investigated, I realized that there were so many other ghost workers. So I went on the cleaning of the payroll exercise, and it wasn't an easy. That was one of the most challenging tasks.
Because you are encountering entrenched systems of men most of the time.
I am coming back to what you are saying.
Before you go to the challenges, because I want you to also deal with the parliamentary proud moments. Then you come back to the issue of challenges, because that has been a political journey. I note you had 2 terms at council, then at parliament you had 3 terms, quite a long journey in politics, and not yet exhausted.
Not yet.
How was it? What some of the things that you can highlight? We know that you reached an epitome of becoming leader of opposition, and I know there are challenges at council, but also parliament. But how was the journey of the mainstream politics at the National Assembly?
At the National Assembly, of course, I came in 2006, and this was at a time when they were introducing now the multi-party politics, and I was the first female member of the opposition from the western part of Uganda. I was actually the only one.
At that time?
At that time.
You broke ground, barriers.
I broke barriers because at that, actually I was in parliament for 12 years without getting another sister in the opposition from western Uganda, yes. Ooh. Honourable Mzanira joined me in 2017.
Is that so?
Yes.
Wow.
2017, that's when Mzanira joined. I think 2018, that's when Mzanira joined.
And so one wonders how you managed to sustain.
We have just been two members,
two members
of opposition from Western Uganda. But now coming back to it, when I reached the party headquarters, the Forum for Democratic Change then, and they were looking for now leadership positions because we were the biggest majority on the side of the opposition and we had to provide leadership in parliament.
Who did you replace, by the way?
I replaced the Honourable Wafula from parliament.
No, from the district.
It was the Honourable Lois Bwambale.
She was a very strong woman,
very strong woman, hardworking and
very powerful.
Very
she was
powerful.
Among the first to start the women's caucus
in parliament.
Yes.
She was a Pan-African member of parliament. So she was very powerful. So by all standards, I was coming in to take up from where she had ended the journey.
We can say safely that Kasese has had very powerful women.
By the grace
leaders.
By the grace of God. So I reached, before we could come to parliament, now my party had a responsibility of looking out for leaders.
Candidate,
leadership in parliament. That was the first challenge that I encountered. So they now started looking out for these men. Honourable Latigo becomes the leader of the opposition. The Honourable Kassiano Wadri becomes the chief whip. Now, those were the positions that had some little facilitation.
Yes.
So when they reached on the position of deputy chief whip, it had no facilitation. Nobody wanted to go for
a
it.
Chief whip.
So I said, me, I can volunteer. Are you ready to volunteer? I said, yes, me, I can volunteer. I will only need to be told what the deputy opposition chief whip does. So they gave it to me because nobody wanted to take it because it had no facilitation. But I took it up, and along the way, the Honourable Latigo got an accident.
Oh, yes.
And he couldn't finish his term as leader of the opposition. So the Honourable Kassiano Wadri, who was chief whip, now started acting
on his behalf
as the leader of the opposition. And now I started acting as the opposition chief whip.
Okay.
But acting, my real role, I was a deputy chief whip.
So we can say you had arrived in things.
So I really arrived. But you know, I was telling you that many people want to begin from big. Now for me, I just looked at this as an opportunity to serve and an opportunity to learn. So I came in as a deputy chief whip, a position that was not valued, a position that was not held in high esteem because it had no benefits. But for me, I was ready to volunteer in it. So I think when they saw how I handled myself as the deputy opposition chief whip, they then graduated me.
I actually have a personal story to share there. I remember watching you outside parliament playing that role of deputy chief whip. So in a way, you inspired me as well because I was working in parliament at that time.
So from there, then they gave me the position of chairperson of the committee.
I would actually go to the house to sit to watch you contribute. On specific days.
At some point, I didn't know.
And I remember I would smile to you from the gallery. You remember?
Yes. And I would look at this young girl, a youth, and there is a time you came to me and said, Honourable, you inspire me. But I was also still learning. So I didn't know that even at that time when I was learning,
we inspire people indirectly.
I was inspiring others. So the first hurdle that I encountered was to, first of all, show up. I can even say possibly the hurdle was even to make the choice of contesting as a member of the opposition at that time.
That was a tough one.
It was a tough one, and I think personally I was looking on to Honourable Lois Bwambale. We went into a multi-party dispensation, and she said, I am remaining on the side of the NRM. But as a community, we had some issues that we thought the NRM government had not fulfilled. The NRM government, when they were still in the bush as the NRA, they used the best of Rwenzori to come into power, just like they used Luwero. When they were about to be defeated in Luwero, they ran to Rwenzori.
Wow.
So in Rwenzori, they took a lot of our things, and they had promised the community they would pay them back.
To be compensated when they're in power.
They vandalized the Nyakatonze Cooperative Union, carried the trucks, carried everything that was there. We had the National Youth Institute, the NUYO. They vandalized everything that was there, carried the things, and they used all those things of ours, including many things from our population, from the businessmen who were there.
That is hardly talked about in the history.
They supported the cause. And these people kept asking, compensate us, bring back our things. There was nothing that was coming up. Then we had our cultural institution.
Wow.
That had been ignored. And the people said, but
we have seen other
kingdoms. You have put in place a constitution that is talking about cultural institutions.
Okay.
Why don't you also regard ours as one?
Wow.
So there were these many
underlying
issues in the community that were not being resolved. And I said, you know, since my colleague has, and we were advocating for these issues together at our different levels with Honourable Lois Bwambale, for us who were handling it at the local level, she was handling the same issues at national level.
Wow.
So when she decided to go to the government side, I said, now, here this person is not going to speak about our issues properly. Me, I am going to the other side so that I can provide the alternative voice on the other side.
Okay.
So that is how I came into the platform of
FDC.
Yeah. But I had also, as councillor, looked at the agenda of the reform agenda then. When they talked about removal of the graduated tax, and I had seen what we were going through as Secretary for Finance. I had seen what we were going through to collect the taxes. I knew this was going to relieve many.
Wow.
Because I knew we had many people who were very poor and could not really afford.
Stressed because of
they were being stressed by the graduated tax collection. So I said, I think this person here, coming here, has an agenda for the people of Uganda. Because he was telling me how the country has money. When I read their manifesto, I saw the country had money. And yes, I said, yes, even in the district I see. These men who have been stealing the money of the little servants who are working at the district, it means there is money. Money could come from central government. And it services the issues of these people down here. But the money is being eaten at that level. No, there must be money in government.
Wow.
We are only failing to get a leader
who can articulate
the issues of people very well and possibly use the little resources that we have at central level. I said, I must follow this person. That is how I came into reform agenda. But also now making that decision to transit from reform agenda to FDC was another serious decision that I made at that time and at my age.
And you're certainly proud of it.
I'm very proud of it. I've never regretted because I know it was a people's thing.
Okay.
So I came to Parliament and now also deciding to volunteer as Chief Opposition Deputy Chief Whip. Which propelled me to becoming the chairperson of a committee on government assurances.
That is government assurances.
Government assurances. So when they saw that I was doing this work very well, then I was given the official office of the opposition chief whip.
Okay. Did you occupy that office as well?
Yes, I handed over to Honourable Cecilia Imat.
Wow.
As opposition chief whip. So I played the role very well. And when I was opposition chief whip, my election was challenged. In 2012, I was subjected to a by-election.
2012 in your second term?
Yes, in my second term. But I can tell our viewers that that was the highest moment of my life.
The biggest challenge you faced?
One of the biggest challenge that I faced, but also the time I enjoyed most.
Most rewarding.
It was the most rewarding. I saw democracy at its fullest. I saw love of the population for a leader at its highest.
I remember seeing the tear gas and everything was
all
at its
state
best.
machinery was in Kasese at that time.
That was at its best.
All types of armored vehicles were in Kasese at that time.
Was it a war?
all types and tribes of soldiers and police were in Kasese
for
at
just a
that
local
time.
election.
For just a local election of just a small woman.
Oh.
But the people of Kasese and the entire nation went to Kasese. I had never known that even in parliament, in a multi-party government, members of parliament from the side of government would contribute money for an opposition MP.
I remember I had also just made it to parliament as a newcomer, and
Yes.
I saw the atmosphere, how we were weeping and complaining why Winnie
I saw MPs saying, of all people, how could Winnie be taken back for a by-election? How could they remove this woman? How we were learning a lot. I didn't know that many people were learning a lot from me. I didn't know. I had no idea.
Yes,
I would do my things without knowing that they were causing an impact to
on
others.
other people. So the way we behave is very important.
So somehow the way you behave
as a leader
can attract people to you or repel people from you.
You were a darling in parliament.
So if there was money that was collected, much of the money came from the colleagues on the other side.
For your campaign.
For my campaigns.
Wow.
I went into the campaign, people braved the tear gas. They were tear gassed during the campaign. They were beaten, but they would beat them as they pour on the streets.
Wow.
They would beat them as they pour on the streets. And I said, oh my God.
Wow.
Does it really necessitate all this? So I saw a government fidgeting with a small woman.
Small district.
A small district. And I said, what is all this? But this gave me even the more reason to work harder.
For them.
For them.
Wow.
Because I said now, if I don't work harder for them, they will regret having been beaten for nothing.
Wow. Wow.
If I don't work harder for them, after all, I didn't pay them. Some people first pay to get elected. But for me, wherever you would go, people would give me food. There are those who gave me clothes. There are those who gave me shoes. And I said, my God, what is this?
Wow.
So I realized that that is what democracy is supposed to be.
Wow.
People are given the freedom to choose their leaders. Without intimidation, they choose the leaders.
It brings the best leaders on.
So I saw leadership
at its best.
At its best. And I said, fine, I will command this force and we shall win this together. So I saw that victory was sweet for everyone.
Wow. And then, of course, we saw you coming back in the next parliament after that one and then becoming a leader of opposition.
Yes. And
that's a big one.
When I came back after that by-election, I was moved from being the leader of the opposition to a chairperson of a committee. From the
chief whip.
From the chief whip to a chairperson of the Committee on Local Government Accounts. Well, other members thought this was a demotion because to them, the chief whip supervises the committee chairperson. So they are my colleagues who said, will we accept this? But for me, it was not about the titles. It was about service. I said, whether it is at a lower level or it is what, me, I'm looking at serving the people. And if the leadership at the party headquarters sees that that is where I will serve best, I will go there. So I went and served in that space, and I handed over to Imat, Cecilia Ogwal. So I went and became chairperson of the committee. So it was from the chairperson of Local Government Accounts Committee that now I came to serve as the leader of the opposition. A position that I feel I also played to the best of my capability.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so the other high moment, but also challenging, came when I was challenging the removal
of the age limit.
And I know, Monicah, you could have become a victim of this advocacy.
Absolutely.
Where we were carrying on the mantle of the population, we knew that we were doing this for the good of Uganda. We knew that we were doing this to enable democracy thrive
in the country,
and to provide for a transition.
And to protect the constitution.
Protect the constitution, defend it, and provide a transition of leadership from one person to another without causing any hardships
to the
like
people.
It was in the past. It was not an easy struggle.
It was not.
But I did it with love and joy, because I knew I was on the right side of history. And I know that those who did it, even when they are still holding their positions, deep inside their hearts, they are not free. So for me, I know even when we lost it, we went ahead and challenged it in court.
East Africa, actually.
Yes, we even went up to the East African Court of Justice.
Yeah.
I still wanted to challenge the system that is now heavily entrenched. And I thought that possibly the courts would also be independent and provide Ugandans an opportunity to see them change a leader from one time to another without pouring blood.
It was a very challenging moment for me and my colleagues. We, you know, being in the NRM, we stood out so strongly against it.
Yes.
And of course, at some point, we were now seeking clarity on our status as NRM members. So when we ended up to meet with the chairperson of the party, we were sort of, you know, the propaganda that went out in the public is that these MPs went to apologize.
They went to apologize.
No, it was not so. And of course, that's a discussion for another day. It was a consultative meeting.
Yeah.
And when we did that, we were actually asked to do that. But no member accepted to do such a thing, because it would be an abomination to go back to your people and say you apologize for the right decision.
decision.
I think that discussion was taken to another level. But remember, it was only one colleague of ours who did that on other reasons. So when they requested us to put it in writing, we said, no. There is no way we can do such a thing for doing the right thing. So it was a proud moment. You led us well at that time from the other side. Yes. But also on the other side, we were leading a campaign to maintain our constitution.
I really want to thank you, Monicah.
On that side.
Because you took your position firm. You took a firm stand on that, and you said no amount of intimidation will make me cowardize from supporting the cause that is just and fair. So that is how I have been doing my things, one, to ensure that we create a society that is just and fair to everyone, that would create equal opportunities for all. A society that believes in the capabilities of everyone. For me, I have always looked at politics as a way of serving people.
Yes, delivering.
Delivering service, and that even when you are the majority, you should not use your majority status to clamp on the minority voices
that are in the house or anywhere in society.
Or anywhere in society. Me, I always want to even give a chance to those who oppose me. Even in my constituency, I'll reach there and tell them, I know so and so, you don't support me, but it's your right. Because you have reasons why you don't support me. So I don't really look at my...
Take it personal.
I don't take it personal, because that is his right, or that is her right. Me, I would even go an extra mile to discuss with the women that I'm contesting with.
Your story is certainly very, very inspiring and challenging. I don't know if those proud moments are very important to share, but is there anything you regret in that journey of politics since then?
Well, I think the regrets would be...
I would propose one where I regret for you that you decided to step aside when we needed you most.
Actually,
that's very true.
When Uganda was pressing for this,
let me tell
great
you,
woman. Yes.
Many times women, we burn out. We do so much and we forget ourselves. There were two reasons that made me step out. One was to keep a promise that I had made to people. As I was getting into the house, for me, every campaign period, I would not go into an election without having a consultation with the elders of the area. I would invite elders, I would invite even those I know that don't support me, and I ask them, I want to contest
another term.
Will you back me or not? Do a SWOT analysis of my participation. If you think there are things I have not done well, let me know so I can give an explanation why I have not done them well.
Having a listening ear as a leader?
Yes.
Wow.
If you think there are issues I've done well and you want me to continue doing them, let me know. So these people would tell me. So in one of those meetings, actually in my thinking, when I contested the first time as woman MP, I told my mind that I will serve 2 terms and leave. I just wanted to see how it feels like to leave when you have not been voted out. And I kept telling my God, enable me to leave
when
before
I'm still
I am
needed.
voted out. So I was thinking I will leave after the second
term.
The reason why I went back after that term is that in the second term, that's when I had this by-election coming out for me. When they put me on a by-election and I saw people being beaten, I saw people being harassed, I said, if I leave now,
it will not be good.
It will not be good. That is why I came for the 3rd term.
Okay.
But when I came for the 3rd term, as I was doing now those
final touches here and there.
The beginning consultations.
Okay.
Should I go or I shouldn't go? Do you think I should go or I shouldn't go? They told me, of course, you have to go. But I told those few elders, they were 16.
Okay.
I told them, I am going, but this is my last term.
What? You had communicated?
I communicated. I am going, but this is my last term.
Wow.
Watch me and begin looking out for someone else.
Okay.
Now, to them, I am told, they said that's politics. I think she doesn't think that we shall support her, so she's putting us in the mood to support her so that she
we
goes.
Can, yeah.
And of course, when I got there, then my palace was attacked.
Okay.
The people of Kasese were killed. That is when I was made leader of the opposition. And like you are saying, everybody said, now Winnie has reached the apex. Maybe we are waiting for another word from her to say, I'm taking the struggle to another level.
Yeah.
But I had said the word. I had said the word, and I needed to be honest with what I told people. 2, I didn't want to continue challenging something that I'm also not complying with.
Okay.
I was challenging leaders who are overstaying in power. I would stand on podiums and say President Museveni is bad. She's overstaying. When I was contesting with the Honourable Lois Wambala, I was telling her she has overstayed. Now, for me, if I were to contest, I would be asking for a 4th term.
Okay.
Really, what explanation would I have given?
Tell the people?
Wouldn't I have overstayed? So I said I should walk the talk.
I think it was difficult, perhaps.
That was
because now you had reached the
that was
of
one
leadership.
of the difficult decisions that I've made in life. To move out at a time when people
need you
need you most.
Yeah.
But because I had said a word which I had to respect.
Okay.
I had no way I would go to these elders and tell them, you know what? I am coming to you again to tell you I'm going back. Well, I know when I went to them and told them I want to go, I want to live like I told them, they said no.
Wow.
But I said I must keep my word.
Wow.
So that you continue respecting politicians. You should know that politicians are not liars, just like many people think.
Monicah, any thoughts? You are a woman of your word. I can see. As you're thinking about that, I have to ask Honourable Winnie this question. Her contribution in politics in Uganda certainly has some, benefit for having women. So I don't know if you believe that more addition of women in parliament or politics is important, and what hopes?
Very important.
What more can we do to increase their participation? Yep.
Having women participate in leadership is very key. I want to really thank those who were before us. Who struggled to ensure that women come on the front line. The way women have special attachments to issues.
Yes.
It's not the same way
It's not
as
the same
men.
way as men do. Yeah.
Countries that have given women the opportunity to serve have grown their economies. Women that are empowered empower their communities.
And the family.
They empower their families. Of course, when I talk about community,
it is the family.
A community begins at the family level. It is women who are empowered that will be able to take their children for immunization. It is these women that will be delivering in health centers. It is these women that will be able to empower their children in terms of education. So empowering a woman is empowering a nation. Wow. Empowering a woman is empowering a community.
Thank you so much for connecting this afternoon. We have to sign out. We will catch you another time of Women at the Front Lines. We have to go because of other weather conditions. Shalom.